For people like me, the sea will always be exciting. Even though there are no great voyages of discovery left to do, there is still the promise of the kind of freedom you can't find on land. And the adventure is still there, even if you choose to travel in sophisticated surroundings. A cruise ship is a community on its own, with its own special freedoms. New places, new people promise the richness of new experiences. Every day can bring adventure. Perhaps that was part of the attraction for Henry, the young man we ended up calling Henry the Navigator. Henry wasn't on the ship to start with. That was the first thing he did differently. He was what they call a fly cruise passenger. Henry was used to having doors open for him, the type of customer hotel managers treat with reserve. It suited his style and his time schedule to fly out, stay a night in a good hotel, and pick up the ship next day. For Henry, it was going to be a voyage of discovery, with a difference.
Persons report to Commodore Cruise 623. The ship left Southampton on the 18th of September. Mr. Henry K. Smith, a fly cruise passenger, joined the ship in Palma. Cabin number was A17, and he felt that this was an ideal way to spend a holiday.
Henry was the type who has to be comfortable. CANBERRA is the second largest passenger ship afloat. Over 45,000 tons. A big ship in every way. A completely self-contained world on its own. There's a small boy in every man. Henry was no different. That ship represented freedom to do what he liked, when he liked, with every comfort catered for. And if he wanted entertainment, there was a team of over 50 experienced professionals on board to provide a wide choice of things to do. Everything from yoga and quizzes to variety shows and cabaret. And they were all free.
Movies. Any feedback from movies last week?
No.
Jaws? Anybody screaming in the seats?
The little old lady who sits at my table was quite thrilled at the aspect of going to see Jaws.
We should do it at the same time as it corresponds to Lifeboat Drill, I think.
Yeah.
It's just thought
There was something for almost everyone. You could take part if you wanted to, or you were equally free to do your own thing. It's a great way to unwind. For many people, the sun and the sea are enough. Mum can have a really lazy time if she knows the kids are happy with something to do. In so many ways, it's easier to relax on board than it is on land. For one thing, you can be yourself. Nobody cares what you do or where you come from, unless you want to tell them. Here, you all start equal as you want to be. And there's always something for a young man to look at. Not for me, of course. I was on a diet. But I could still look at the menu. I had my wife, Jane, with me. It was our first cruise, and Jane's best friend, Gillian, had decided to come too. We couldn't help being aware of Henry soaking up the sun and the scenery. He was in no hurry. When you're all staying at the same place, you don't have to run after a girl for her telephone number, especially someone as noticeable as Jeannie.
Campari and grapefruit juice.
He wasn't hard to meet. Now, I'm always curious about someone who orders strange drinks. Mind you, with the low prices on board, anybody could afford to experiment.
Putting over local flats, then. Oh, my name's Bill. Hi, Henry. Flats, then.
It seemed a good idea to get better acquainted. When I introduced him to Jane and Gillian, Henry seemed to think so too.
There's a table over there. Could you join us? Yeah, I'd like to. Thank you.
After that, we decided to break the ice properly. We popped a few corks and conversation began to flow.
Get away from the telephone. That's why I like being here. What's that right on the desk behind you? Yes, it only goes on the ship, you know.
My wife was happy for a different reason. We were doing things in style. It's more fun entertaining when somebody else does the work. All she had to do was to sit back and enjoy it. We felt very much at home, and so did Henry.
What do you do? I mean, what's your job?
I'm a trapeze artist.
I hope you're joking.
He could have been the ringmaster for all the difference it made. He wasn't rich, I should know, but no one minded Gillian least of all. He'd paid for the trip, and after that, it was all small change.
Yes.
Place your bets, please, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets, please.
This is what you really came for, darling, isn't it?
Well, I like winning. Story of my life.
Just as well as I'm so good at losing.
Place your bets, please, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets, please.
Much like on him.
Lucky big girl.
26.
I say, maybe. 26 is.
What number are you going on?
No more bets. Spin the wheel.
There was always something different to do in the evenings. Henry was good company for Gillian and a good sport in more ways than one.
We won! I'm having a marvellous time, and I've met some very nice people, particularly a young man called Henry, who joined the ship at Palma. We're going to the captain's cocktail party tonight, and I have decided to wear the yellow dress.
The bearing of the end of the land there, the northern end.
165, sir.
165. Good.
On a big ship, it's sometimes difficult to remember that you're moving.
Did you see the lighthouse yet? Yes, sir. I've got a bit near there now. Good. All right.
The direction of the cruise comes from the bridge, and the ship's company combine the skills of seamanship with the job of giving their customers a good time on the high seas. There's one member of the ship's company for every 2 passengers on board. Meanwhile, Henry was steering his own course, and he obviously wanted Gillian to join in the game.
This is the bridge. The time is 12 noon. Since noon yesterday, Canberra has steamed 483 nautical miles at an average speed of 20.55 knots. The air temperature is 78 degrees Fahrenheit. The sea temperature is 75 degrees.
For a woman, there's the opportunity and the time to indulge in those little extra luxuries. There's something to dress for almost every night, if you want to, that is. There's nothing in the rules that says you must, but you can make every night a special occasion.
It's the Commodore, isn't it, tonight?
The big thing is there's plenty of time to spend on yourself. Much more time than most of us can afford on land.
You're very fit on it. You must be enjoying your cruise.
And if it's keeping up with the Joneses that you want, the ship has its own special version of that too. It's called the Captain's Cocktail Party. Only in our case, the captain was Commodore of the fleet. It's a great big get-together when everyone has a chance to meet everyone else, including the people who run the ship. And the drinks are on the house. He wanted to meet the Commodore, naturally, but he had other things on his mind too, and his thoughts were showing. Henry had begun to broaden his horizons. Days at sea alternated with days ashore. Henry, who normally had an eye for other figures, counted more than 30 different shore excursions which we could choose from.
CO Bridge, number 11 out, number 10 coming in.
21 departure.
21, okay, well that's over the 1,000 now, we're not doing too badly. William Foster's room's just about empty, I'm told.
Sometimes it was hard to remember that we were visiting not only a new port, but a new country as well. Time and space lose their meaning when your world moves with you. Thursday it was Italy, Friday France, with nothing more complicated between the two than a good night's sleep. It all seemed too easy. Cannes is many things to many people. For Henry, it was a place to be romantic with the help of some good French cooking. A time to make Gillian feel that he would buy the whole of France for her, if only she would let him.
I'm going to have the turpentine push plus hollandaise. I don't know what to do, but it's there. I've got the same thing.
I couldn't think of 4 nicer people it could happen to. You could almost taste the ambience. If the food was rewarding, so was the sightseeing. Of course, women love window shopping. Jane and Gillian were no exception. Henry was getting his bearings, sampling each new situation, planning his next port of call. It was one of those days when we had all the time to look and we didn't have to buy. For Jane and me, it was perfect. But for Henry, nothing was ever so good it couldn't be improved. What went up should have come down, except that he couldn't resist a change. But say one thing for him, he was an opportunist. Ships might pass in the night, but daylight was a different matter. He wanted to feel free, to be sure he wasn't missing out on anything, or anyone like Jeannie. the ship had a new course and a new destination. The cruise was past the halfway mark. Henry was about to change course too. He was not the type to be afraid of deep water, but with Gillian, he found he was out of his depth.
Oh, don't you think that's lovely, Henry?
Yeah, it's smashing. It's real, is it?
Yes, it's lovely. Yes, it really is nice.
What's it made of?
9-carat gold with sovereigns.
Yeah, well, it's
Beautiful, really is.
gold, eh?
Yes, yes. And this one is only 465, so pounds, that is.
Shall I just keep it on, Henry? Oh, it's lovely, Henry. Isn't
I
it beautiful?
don't have any money.
Well, that doesn't matter. We can come back again tomorrow, can't we?
Can we?
Yes. It's all right.
Is everything up here, Chef? Yes, well, I've got plenty more down below if we need it.
It was the informal moments that helped us to relax. But for Henry, it wasn't always an easy passage.
Have you got enough on your plate? No, not yet.
I don't have enough on my plate. Oh, bigger than this.
There was only one thing to do. Henry got to grips with the situation in his own special way.
You twist to your right and you toss down there, okay? But the thing is, it's got to be a smooth action when I count 3.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. Missed.
Sun and sea, good food, good company. It was a time to let go, and we wanted time to go on forever. Good food makes a good cruise. Choice is the important thing, choice and quality. My wife collected 27 different menus during the cruise with a choice of over 170 different dishes. Lunch and dinner were 7-course meals, and there were nearly 50 different wines, chosen because they travel well. When every evening is an occasion for somebody, the menu and the wine list must measure up to special demands. Once it was the rule that everyone dressed for dinner. That's no longer true. The ship's officers, like the surgeon who was at our table, always dressed. But we found it more relaxing to save our special efforts for the big nights. And mind you, I couldn't help noticing that Henry always had something to celebrate.
When we were on an immigrant run, they had like kids and chicken boxing.
In many ways, it's an unreal world. Days at sea seem to merge with days ashore, leaving memories linked together like a colourful, continuing dream. For Henry, some of it was real, some of it make-believe. But there was nothing unreal about the Spanish girl who got him in on the act. In the end, the dream always came back to the ship. For Henry, it was a stage on which he could play any part he chose, in any way he chose, providing someone was there to play along with him.
Good morning, sir. It's a beautiful morning.
Continental breakfast in bed was another bonus. Of course, Henry, he relied on it. It's tempting to compare a cruise ship with a top-class hotel, but that would cover only half the story. The truth is, there's nothing like it on land. Nowhere that combines all the comforts and service, accommodation and entertainment in a totally self-sufficient world that travels from place to place. The skills of the master mariner have to combine with a talent for providing the personal touch.
Also a party in the Meridian Romantics, which I understand you've been invited to, sir.
The officers who manage the ship meet every morning to make sure it all works.
Good. Right. Well, I've got nothing else. Anybody got anything else?
For all of us, the passing days brought a growing sense of contentment and well-being. We had loosened our links with the land, and we'd learned to relax completely. All of us, that is, except Henry.
Well, what do you want? One of those, what about one of those China pygmies out there? Do you see them? That? Or you can have...
No, not very much, no.
What about a nice tea towel with the name of the ship on? Look over there.
We're not being very romantic. I thought we'd had a nice voyage.
Very special.
If anything was special, it was time. Time to make new friends. Time to be with someone you've known for a very long while and discover them all over again.
Don't spoil it. I want to think about going back to work.
How
is it? Beautiful. Absolutely delicious.
A cruise can be a very special kind of journey.
Just a closer walk with thee. Granted, Jesus is my plea. When we're walking close to thee, oh, let it be, dear Lord, let it be.
My wife loves dancing and atmosphere. For both of us, it was a fun way to finish most evenings. Henry was back in deep water again, but only because Gillian found him amusing. She had enjoyed her cruise.
Now, this would seem to be fly cruising at its best.
Yes, it is. That's one using Concorde.
Concorde to Rio was an exciting idea. And we could fly to other cruises as well, putting other ships in other parts of the world within our reach. Who could blame us for looking to see if there were other dreams we could buy? The choice of cruise programs was enormous. From Rio to the land of the midnight sun, from the Greek islands to the Caribbean, or round the world via Australia, New Zealand, and the Far East. From California, the new luxury princess ships ply the Pacific coast down to Mexico and the Caribbean in the winter, or up to Canada and Alaska in the summer. In the history books, Henry the Navigator is a man who charted strange seas and opened the eyes of the world to new horizons. But to us, Henry will always be the young man who discovered that cruising can offer a lot of choices. A magical person who always attempted the impossible because it was more fun.